You know what's wild? We hit 40, and all of a sudden, the diet tricks that worked in our 20s become our worst enemy. Skip breakfast, your metabolism tanks. Cut too many calories, you lose muscle, not fat. Survive on coffee and willpower, your hormones scream surrender. Your sleep crash, and you're one bad meeting away from downing a pizza and a beer. Hi, I'm Coach Monica, and welcome back to Sick of Starting Over. This is episode 6, and today we're talking about something most of us do not like to talk about: nutrition. Not because it's not important, but because it's the most important thing we need to discuss in this entire podcast series. Here's the truth, and I know you've heard this one before. You can't outtrain a bad diet, especially after 40. Our bodies don't forgive like it used to. Like when you were younger, you could eat whatever you want, whenever you want. You didn't even think about it, right? But here's the better truth. When you eat for your body instead of against it, everything changes. Fat loss, muscle gain, energy, focus, sleep, even our mood. So let's stop dieting like we're 25 and start eating like we want to live at 85. Yeah. So I'm going to get real about what's happening in our bodies right now after 40. See, if you're not actively preserving it, you lose about 3 to 8% of your muscle mass per decade. And that adds up faster than we think. Muscle is metabolically expensive. It burns calories even when you're just sitting on the couch. Less muscle equals slower metabolism equals easier fat gains. Your hormones are also shifting for both men and women. It's not just us ladies. Men, your testosterone drops. Women, estrogen fluctuates wildly as we approach perimenopause and menopause. Cortisol, your stress hormone, tends to stay elevated longer because recovery time takes a longer time to recover. And here's the kicker: insulin sensitivity decreases. What that means is your body doesn't handle carbs as efficiently as they may have once did when we were younger. Again, going back to the scenario of us eating what we want. That bagel that used to fuel your mornings now is spiking your blood sugar and getting stored as fat. Mm-mm-mm. We don't want that, right? So the diet strategies from your 20s were built on a different body. Extreme calorie restriction worked because you had muscle to spare in your 20s. Now, if you're not strength training and eating sufficient daily protein, you're losing that muscle faster each year. Back in the day, skipping meals worked because your metabolism was a furnace. Now, it signals famine mode, starvation mode, and your body stores every calorie for what the body perceives as impending starvation. It has to store it up just in case every crumb of food in life runs out. Cardio only approach worked because your recovery was fast. Now you're just adding stress without building the muscle you desperately need. So after 40, It's not about eating less, it's about eating smarter. It's about working with your biology and not against it. And I know what you're thinking. Coach Monica, I don't have time to meal prep. I don't have time to prepare for my meals for the week. I'm running a business, I'm raising kids, I have a demanding job. I'm managing an entire household. Don't you get it? Yes, I understand that. I've been there. I totally get that. I hear you. But let me challenge you on this. You don't have time not to prepare because there's a cost with winging it. When you don't prepare, here's what happens. You end up grabbing whatever's convenient, usually something high in carbs like donuts, pastries, muffins, low in protein, probably zero protein value, and it's just a nutrient poor option. Your blood sugar spikes and crashes and leaves you exhausted by 2 p.m. You know, that 2 o'clock slump we all felt, right? You overeat at night because you've been under fueling all day. You may have had a lunch. You may have had lunch. Typically, people will skip breakfast. They'll drink coffee as their breakfast to get them, fired up, energy, supposed energy. And then they'll skip breakfast altogether and then have maybe a lunch. And the lunch may be, again, either it's a convenient lunch because you're still rushing through it, you're not really sitting down away from your desk and having a proper lunch, and then you're not eating anything else until dinner. So then at dinner time, you're going to overeat. Your body never gets enough protein it needs to even just maintain muscle because you've skipped meals all day. Your sleep suffers because your hormones are all over the place. You wake up tired, reach for the coffee and sugar, and the cycle repeats itself the next day. This isn't just about fat loss, this is about performance. I mean, if you're a professional trying to lead meetings, make decisions, show up as your best self, you can't do that on fumes and willpower and coffee. No, no, no. Nor can you do it on donuts and muffins and any other awful carb source. As a leader or even as a parent, would you recommend that approach to your team or to your child? Think about that question. Would you, the way you currently eat, if you're not eating effectively, if you're eating like I just described, skipping meals, having maybe a lunch, if the lunch is even healthy, would you recommend that to your child? Would you recommend that to a teammate? So, why is it a choice for yourself? Ask yourself that. Why are you doing that to yourself if you wouldn't recommend it to someone else that you care about? So, here's what preparation actually looks like for a busy person over 40. You always want to prioritize protein. Always. Protein is king. Protein is king. Your body needs zero point 0.7 to 1 gram of protein per body weight to maintain and build. For example, a person that's 180 pounds, that's about 125 grams to 180 grams per day. And most of us are eating well under that amount per day. I mean, well under that range. Not that specific range, but a range that is appropriate to your body weight. That's not to even mention If you were training, if you were strength training at some level of significance, let's say 4 or 5 times a week, you would need to even hit the high end of the range that's appropriate for your body weight, just so that you could see fat loss and body sculpt. I suggest that you prep your protein in bulk. That's the easiest approach. I mean, you can grill 3 to 4 pounds of chicken breast on Sunday. Now you've got chicken breasts that you can use for two different meal types, whatever you have for lunch and whatever you're going to have for dinner. Heck, if you're going to have, if you have a family, you could still have that chicken breast for your breakfast and lunch. Have chicken with your eggs, or just have chicken and maybe chicken and some type of salad for breakfast. It's okay to not have a donut. It's okay not to drink coffee as your breakfast. That's okay. And then for dinner, if you have a family, you have a dinner with whatever you're going to have, but you know in advance what that dinner will be so that you will stay on point with your protein intake. You can hard boil a dozen of eggs. Easy, grab and go, super convenient, super healthy, nutrient dense. The golden go to, one of the top go to foods for protein sources. You could portion out some Greek yogurt, cottage cheese, a protein shake, and these are your protein sources that you will have ready to go. There's no, decision fatigue there. Secondly, build your plan B list in regards to nutrition. You won't always have time to cook, right? And that's fine. So you need a go to list of high protein sources that you can grab and go. Top of the list, rotisserie chicken from the grocery store. Take the meat off the bone and store it, and then you just portion out what you need for your day. Canned or pouched tuna or salmon, perfect source of protein. Pre-cooked shrimp, protein bars. You want to look for something over 25 grams, something very low in sugar, very natural. Deli turkey and roast beef. Just make sure you watch out for sodium. So I highly recommend you get the best deli meat you can get, which is usually going to be cut fresh from the butcher. Better source. You can bash your vegetables. Roast a big pan, sheet pan of broccoli or Brussels sprouts and peppers. Season those up really well and have a really nice assortment of vegetables, and that can last you a few days. You can throw that with your chicken breast, and you've got a quick lunch, really quick lunch, and a good carb. Carbs are not the enemy, it's timing. Timing your carbs is where you can benefit from carbs. You need carbs for energy, you need carbs for hormone health. And you also need carbs for resistance training. If you're resistant training, you need carbs. But when you eat them, as a person after 40, matters the most. You want to save most of your carbs for post workout when the insulin sensitivity is at its highest. You want to pair carbs with protein and fats so it slows down the digestion and prevents blood sugar spikes. And you want to focus on complex carbs, not the sugary ones, not the starchy ones, but sweet potatoes, quinoa, oats, rice. You stick to these four, you're golden. You can rotate those at any point. You don't have to eat the same ones every day in and day out. Just rotate them around. But again, when you eat carbs, it's really going to either benefit you or not benefit you so much. So making sure you time it is very important. Okay, so you didn't meal prep. because here we live in the real world, right? We're not going to always meal prep every week. And we're not going to always have get grab and go protein sources on the on the ready. So you didn't meal prep. You're traveling. You're at a work event. You're stuck in back to back meetings. So what now, right? So here's what I recommend in what I call the hierarchy of choices. Okay, hierarchy of choices. This is when you can't control everything, you control something, and this is how we want to approach it. Hack number one, again, protein, king, 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 king. It is a non-negotiable. When you're having to make a decision about what you're eating, you want to always think about the protein source first before you think about any other macronutrient. You want to think about protein. No matter what, get your protein in. Even if that's all you have is protein. Even if the rest of the meal is absolute trash, at least you're preserving your muscles and staying satiated, aka full. You're at a restaurant, order the grilled chicken, steak, or fish. Get double portions. Who's looking? Not a bad thing, right? Get doubles. You're at a gas station because you're on the road, you're doing a road trip for work. Grab a protein bar, beef jerky, Greek yogurt. You're at a party, networking, or even personal. Hit the meat and cheese tray first, not the dessert bar and the drinks. Get some protein in first. Hack number two, add vegetables. If you can get both protein and vegetables, you are winning. Fiber slows down the digestion. It stabilizes your blood sugar and it keeps you full. We need fiber. That's definitely going to be your friend as you continue on your fitness journey. Hack number three, manage your portions. Manage your portions. If you're eating in intervals throughout the day, you should not be, you know, just devouring food in one setting. That means you're not eating at intervals throughout the day. You're basically starving yourself all day, and then you're eating this ginormous meal. And likely you're going to choose have wrong choices or bad choices. You're going to crave sugary things. You're going to just crave starchy things and carby things because your body is going to crave that. Most likely. Not for everyone, but some of us will crave those things. So if you're eating something less than ideal, i.e., pizza, pasta, fried food, just manage the portion. Eat slowly, stop at about 80% full, and do not go back 4 seconds. Don't do it. If you eat slow enough, you should be full at 80%. But if you're devouring it, yeah, you're going to just want to eat and eat and eat because you're making up for basically your entire day. And there's a 80-20 rule, not 20-80. I was about to say 20-80, but it's 80-20 rule. The 80-20 rule is perfection is not the goal. It's about being consistent. If you eat well 80% of the time, the other 20% won't derail you. But if you're winging it at 80% of the time, no amount of being good on the weekends will save you. So I'm going to take a second and zoom way out into the future. We're going to zoom way out into the future because the purpose of this podcast is about supporting longevity, fitness, and wellness. So we're going to zoom out. This isn't just about looking good in a swimsuit. This particular nutritional podcast or episode isn't about looking good in a swimsuit. This is not why I'm talking about nutrition today. This is about how you want to live at 60, 70, 80, and beyond. How do you want to live? Do you want to arrive healthy, strong, fit, in your right mind? Because you fed your body the right nutrition. You fed your body the right amount of water. You got the right amount of sleep. You made sure you didn't have stress as a navigator. Everything you do is just always stressed out. The big picture is your brain health is important, and food correlates to that. Your brain is 60% fat. Did you know that? 60% of your brain is fat. It needs healthy fats to function. Things like omega 3s from fish, avocado, nuts, olive oil. Studies show that chronic inflammation from a poor diet is linked to cognitive decline, such as Alzheimer's and dementia. So, eating anti inflammatory foods like fatty fish and leafy greens and berries, they will protect your brain long term. Muscle growth and preservation, another biggie. We want to preserve our muscles because muscle is your longevity currency. It protects your joints. It's going to help stabilize your blood sugar, keep your metabolism high because that is important. It allows you to stay independent as you age. If you build and preserve muscle with adequate protein, resistance training, and sleep, man, you're winning. You are winning. Another thing we want to ensure that we do as it relates to our diet and our nutrition is fat burning. We only need a little bit of fat in our bodies. We don't need a whole lot, right? We need a little insulation, and fat definitely plays a role in functionality, but not to the extent that most of us are walking around with. We're carrying way too much fat on our bodies, and it's slowing us down. It's causing a lot of issues that we could try to prevent ourselves by just stepping back and reassessing how we eat, when we eat, and what we eat. Your body burns fat when insulin is low and you're in a slight caloric deficit. But after 40, you can't just slash calories. Because if we could slash calories after 40, half of us would be like, oof, I still look like I'm 25. I still look like I am in my 30s. But most of us in our 40s don't have the bodies we had 20, 30 years ago. We're carrying extra pounds, we're carrying extra body fat, we're inflamed, we're our brain fog is there, we're tired, the fatigue is real, the stress is real. There's all these symptoms as kind of a part of what we're putting into our bodies. It's symptomatic. It's not always age related. It's based on some of the things that we could do ourselves. So we need to eat enough protein to preserve muscle. We need to strengthen and strength train to signal our body to keep that muscle, right? And we need to manage stress and sleep so our cortisol doesn't sabotage our fat loss. Because another part that we don't really think about, especially as guys, you don't think about this. Us ladies, we think about this. Hormonal balance is something else we don't think about. Hormones are messengers. When you undereat, overstress, undersleep, they scream. Low energy, they scream poor sleep, they scream mood swings, they scream stubborn fat, especially around the midsection, and they scream low libido. Eating enough, especially protein and healthy fats, again, supports our hormone production. Things like magnesium and zinc and vitamin D and omega 3s, they're all critical. They're all critical to what's going to help us have the best diet. And over the years that I've coached clients, I always try to make sure that my clients get a very specific list of supplements, supplementation outside of the diet that will help support all these processes. So I do have that available. And all of, all of this to support all of what we've talked about so far in today's episode. Sleep is the most underrated part of fat loss, of recovery, of repair. If you have poor sleep, it increases your hormone, ghrelin. It decreases your leptin, which is your satiation hormone. It spikes your cortisol and it tanks testosterone and growth hormone. Sleep, sleep, just sleep. We're not even talking about nutrition. We're just talking about sleep. You can't out diet a bad sleep pattern, period. You've got to get your sleep in. So critical because it helps support the protein at dinner, which, if you're eating the protein, it's going to produce serotonin and melatonin, especially things like beef and chicken at night. Magnesium rich foods like spinach and almonds and dark chocolate. And who doesn't love dark chocolate, right? And avoid heavy hard carbs and alcohol close to bedtime. These things all support healthy sleeping. So let's talk about why this matters now and not just 20 years and 20 years from now. It matters now. To my professionals and business owners out there, you're leading teams. You're making really important decisions on a daily basis. You're negotiating deals, showing up on calls. You need mental clarity, sustained energy, and emotional regulation daily. You can't get that from coffee and donuts and adrenaline, can you? You think that's what's really making it happen? How long can you sustain that as your go to? What you get, where you get it from is you get it from stable blood sugar and adequate protein and nutrition, your nutritional dense foods. That's how you get it. That's how you get it. And when you eat for performance, your focus sharpens, your mood stabilizes, your energy lasts all day, no more 2 o'clock slumps. Okay. You recover faster from stress. You don't take days of your today's stress home with you. You let it go a lot easier. You're not holding on to it. Yeah. For my parents out there, parents, you're managing activity schedules, the after school programs, after school practices. You're managing the little one's emotions, the logistics, and your own life. You are the CEO of your household and you're running on fumes. Absolute fumes. But here's the truth, mom or dad. You can't pour from an empty cup. When you prioritize your nutrition, you have energy to show for your kids. You become the model or the example of healthy habits that they'll carry into their adulthood. They see you do it, they're going to want to model that. You don't hit drain mode at 7 p.m. and survive on wine and Netflix. You sleep better, which means you have more patience and you can be present. And if you're married, you can have time for each other without feeling so stressed out or bringing stress, always bringing the stress to the relationship or the conversation. Yeah? Because you are fueled up, energy is up, because you take the time to be intentional about your nutrition, just like you would want your child to do. So, all right, let's bring this home because in this podcast, we always have a takeaway. We always have a takeaway. So, for this week, I would like you to do a few things. So, take out a pen and paper or come back to this part of the podcast if you're driving. I want you to sit down and calculate your protein target. That is your current body weight times zero point 0.7 at the least, or up to 1.0 at the highest grams of protein per day. So it's body weight up to times 1 point grams of protein per day. I want you to prep one protein source in bulk on Sundays. That could be chicken, that could be a dozen of eggs, ground turkey, beef, whatever source you would like, tofu, whatever you would like. I want you to build your Plan B list. That is a list of 5 high protein options you can grab on the go. And lastly, for this week, add 1 vegetable to every meal, even if that's just baby carrots or side salad. It's vegetables nonetheless. For the month, for the remainder of the month, I would like for you to track your meals for 3 days. And why is this important? It gives you a baseline, it gives you an understanding of what you're actually eating because most of us don't know what we're eating. We don't know how many calories, we don't know what the ingredients are, we don't know how much fiber, how much carbs, we don't know anything about the diet. We just eat. And 3 days of taking an app and literally either, you know, putting it, most of these apps these days have a way for you to do something with AI where it can actually recognize it as an image, or you actually plug in that amount of, food and you've measured it and all that jazz. The easiest is going to be an image taker type app. I mean, over the years, I've asked clients to track their foods, and a lot of people don't do it. We don't like to track it because either it's going to give us a real picture, a reality, a realistic picture of what we're actually eating, or it somehow psychologically means we've got to do something better, and we don't really want to. We want to drag our feet on this. We don't want to be accountable to the truth of what we're actually eating. And I want you to be as realistic about it as possible. Like if you're not eating quote unquote healthy, that's fine, but track it. I want you to see just what you're eating so that you can then say, you know what? I'm not even close to the amount of protein I thought I was eating. Or I'm eating way too many carbs. Or, oh geez, I didn't even have any healthy fats today. That's what it's for. So it's not about being obsessive. I don't want you to obsess over it, but I want you to see where you actually are as a baseline so that we can then start building on that. I want you to prioritize your sleep, aim for 7 to 8 hours, and create a wind down routine. Eat protein every meal. That's breakfast, lunch, dinner, and snacks. So sounds like 4 times to me. Yes, we want to try to eat 4 times a day. And these aren't big portions, but these are really curated, well thought out meals. And hydrate. Drink your water. Put an electrolyte in it or salt. Celtic salt or Himalayan salt of good quality in your water first thing in the morning. Hydration. That should be half your body weight in ounces of water per day. You can do it. And overall, long term, I just want you to build a system. This is about building system, not willpower. Meal prep, have a grocery delivery service if that helps, or a meal prep service if that helps. Reoccurring orders. Some weeks eat the same meals Monday through Wednesday, then eat a variety of meals Thursday through Sunday. They're both intentional and they create consistency. Focus on that consistency. Again, it's the 80-20 rule. 80% of the time, eat really, really mindful and well thought out. And the other 20%, you know, you can wing it a little bit, but still in moderation and thought out. And adjust as you go. Your body will tell you what's working by taking progress pics. Watch for changes in how your clothes fit, what your energy level is feeling like, and things of that nature. That will give you your best telltale signs that what you're doing is actually working, not the scale. Stay away from the scale. The scale is not your measurement barometer. It is not the barometer we want to use. So here's the bottom line. You can't diet like you are 25 anymore because you're not 25 anymore. Yeah, we're not 25. Your body has a different need now, and that's not a weakness. It's just a reality that we must accept and we must function within. But when you eat for your body, when you prioritize protein, you prepare and you have nutrient dense foods, you unlock a level of energy and performance and longevity that your 25-year-old self never had. This is about playing the long game. This is about being strong, sharp, and vibrant past 50, 60, 70, and beyond. So stop dieting and start eating like you want to live well. Thanks for tuning in to Sick of Starting Over. I'm Coach Monica, and if this episode hit home, share it with someone who needs to hear it. And if you want more workshops, courses, or accountability, head to our social pages for more information. I'll see you next time. Bye.